Laine. Hi, Denny.
Hi, Harvey. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great.
We are so
cold.
It is cold. This is unusually cold, Denny. So don't judge Boston on this weather here, because I don't know what the heck happened. I don't know if it's a greenhouse effect or what. But anyways, it's about 16 or 17 degrees on the streets of Boston. Now, Denny, you are here tonight at the Paradise, and this is your first appearance since '76 on stage.
That's right. Well, in this country.
In
yeah,
this country.
sure.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
We're so excited that you're going to be over there at the Paradise. I'm going to be over there emceeing with a whole mess of other bands. Now, let's bring people up to date. Denny Laine, the name sounds so familiar. Okay, the Moody Blues. You were the lead singer of the Moody Blues Go Now hit, right? Which was like a smash. And then you went with Wings after that, and you were like the driving force behind Wings. And you've been inactive, I guess, on the airwaves, for a solo career, up until, well, just recently, right?
Sure. Well, I mean, I've been doing things, I've run away to different countries.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a writer. I go looking for work and stuff,
And what we're going to do is we'll do a couple of messages. We'll come back and we'll talk about the early days in the Moody Blues. How's that?
Sure.
And then we hear that you're working on some new stuff with Richie Havens.
That's right.
And maybe we get a chance to hear that. And we'll be back after these messages with Denny Laine next to WZLX.
If you want to keep up.
The Denny Laine. And Denny and I were just talking and saying, how could it be like from 64 or so, 25 or so years down the road? And we were saying, it doesn't seem that long until you start talking about it, right?
That's right, yeah. If people ask you questions about things, it's amazing what you can remember, And
then you say to yourself, geez, well, maybe I did do all of those things. Now, you founded the Moody Blues, and you were one of the youngest members, but you had a band before that, and it was called what?
The Denny Laine, the Diplomats.
And what kind of music did you do and stuff?
Well, those were the days when we used to do covers, everybody else's songs. That's the only way you got work,
Sure.
in the Midlands where I come from. It's like all the bands used to do everybody else's stuff.
Is that right? And then from the Diplomats, how did the Moody Blues get started and stuff?
Well, that was like a combination of 5 different guys from all sort of top bands that wanted to get down to London to make it, because you could only go so far there, right? So we put that band together, and we all kind of left all the girlfriends and the families and went down there.
And how was it going in the beginning? How did it...
Well, it was, like we slept outside restaurants and all in the car and all that sort of thing until we got started. We just did it the way you have to do it,
Wow.
Just going around from place to place.
You were with the Moody Blues for 2 albums, and then you scooted off because...
Well, yeah, the point was that we hit a sort of a level where we're just working in Europe. We weren't doing anything new material-wise. We had all these crazy ideas, I mean, that they developed the ideas after I left, but we were going in that direction. But because we were working in Europe such a lot and we didn't go in the studio, I wanted to get away to write, really, to do some writing.
And you took off to, where? Andalusia?
Yeah, I went to Spain, yeah.
And you learned how to play flamenco guitar from gypsies and things like that?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Jeez. Right, Lord. Let's go back to 1965. That was the year, I think, with Go Now. And you sang lead. Were you the youngest member of the band?
I was, yeah. I was the headstrong member of the band.
How old were you at the time when the Moody's were formed?
19, something
Is that right?
like that. Yeah.
19.
Yeah, little boy.
Oh, my Lord. Let's listen to Go Now from the Moody Blues. Denny Laine singing lead, one of the founders of the Moody Blues on WZLX. WZLX, and Denny Laine singing lead on Go Now from the Moody Blues. And that was the Moody Blues sound from 65. And then you left them after 2 albums, and then in 67 they came out with what, Days of Future Past, right?
Yeah, that was a completely new direction for them.
Sound-wise, absolutely. It was
Tony Clark produced it. I've since worked with Tony Clark, and I can see that a lot of ideas, sound-wise, came from him. He's a great guy.
Well, now, and when the album came out, you were not in the Moody Blues at that time.
No.
But they brought the album by your flat, and you guys listened to it, and
well, yeah,
what'd you think?
It was me and John Lennon were sitting there. I know he was playing a song to me by Tim Hardin, Reason to Believe. You remember that?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And John was like into Tim Hardin at the time. So, and Mike Pinder turns up at the door with this acetate, and he played it like 50 times. He must have played it 50 times.
Wow.
And I mean, we were making jokes about it, but I was secret. We were pretty impressed.
Really?
Yeah.
And then that was 67, and then in 72 they finally had the hit "Nights in White Satin" off the album, which is pretty bizarre because the album had been out for 5 years or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, they did have. I mean, in England, I think "Nights in White Satin" was. In fact, it was the first song that Tony Clark found that he liked, and that's
right?
why they had the resurgence of the...
Yeah, so it was a hit in England long before it was a hit in the States and stuff. Now, you, meantime, had gone off to Spain, and you'd learned how to play flamenco guitar and stuff, and you had formed another band, is that correct?
Oh, a string band sort of thing. Like,
right.
With guys from the Royal Academy of Music. It was a kind of a rock trio with strings, you know, like electronic strings.
And how long did that last for?
About a year. I did the Jimi Hendrix show with that, and it went down well, you know, in front of a good, like, showbiz audience, and that really went well.
Was there an album that came out of that band?
No, there's a couple of... I had a single, Say You Don't Mind was a single, and I think Colin Bluntstone, I think it was released here, he took the version of it and just took the drums and the heaviness out of it and put strings, you know, and then he released it like that version, which is really good, I thought.
And then after you were in the Denny Laine electric string band or whatever, Paul McCartney calls you up or something. Yeah. He heard you were in this band or whatever, and he was putting his thing together. He wanted to go out on the road with it or what?
Yeah. Well, I knew Paul. I knew Paul from the Beatles days, obviously, you know. I mean, the Beatles and... we were under the NEMS Enterprise, which is Brian Epstein's company. Sure. So I knew them, and he wanted to do so. He knew I was doing like newish things, and he wanted somebody who he could relate to, I suppose, somebody who wasn't in awe of him, you know.
And someone who was creative on the guitar and songwriting and things like that too, right?
An all-rounder, odd job man, yeah.
That's wild. And how long did the Wings thing officially last for you until?
I suppose it's about 10 years, you know. I mean, people tell me that, and I can't believe it.
Isn't it bizarre that it's been 10 years since you were with Wings?
Yeah,
that's
even more unbelievable.
My Lord, let's do a Hell on Wheels here, and we'll come back, and we'll do some more talking with Denny Laine of the Moody Blues and of Wings on WZLS.
And entertainment reporter Debbie Emblem joined us live now from Worcester, where the excitement is building. Debbie?
It is definitely building. Actually, I'm at the West Bureau, just a few blocks from the Centrum, where there is, well, I guess you could call it McCartney. Well, McCartney mania really is very, very easy to feel here, but, you know, it's actually tame compared to the Fab Four's first big trip to the United States. It was actually 26 years ago yesterday that Paul, John, George, and Ringo landed in New York to appear on the Ed Sullivan Show. Scores of screaming teens watched the Beatles' every move. The group with the weird haircuts only toured for 2 years. Now, as for McCartney, well, most fans and music experts say his first concert tour in a decade is well worth the wait.
Well, he was just 17. You know what I mean.
As far as his singing goes, the guy's one of the greatest singers in the history of rock and roll, the greatest singers in the history of pop music. He can, you don't hear that he's lost anything at all. You feel the excitement and just, pardon the cliche, the love that goes back and forth between the audience and Paul when he sings songs like Hey Jude. This is something that's totally great and totally wonderful, and everyone's feeling fantastic. Why not?
Cats saw McCartney in Los Angeles, and 2 generations of McCartney fans in this area hope the shows here are the same. But life hasn't been all good reviews for McCartney. A member of McCartney's old band, Wings, was in Boston last night. Denny Laine reportedly had a falling out with the former Beatle over Laine's writing a book detailing McCartney's drug troubles. Laine said the media blew things out of proportion, though, and he and McCartney are all right.
He's a nice bloke. I regard him as like a brother I haven't seen for a few years, but then again, I haven't seen my own brother for a few years. It's the way it goes.
Thanks a lot. Listen, these lads, you know, they just kind of, these two know each other because they're twins, so they should. And he's new on the scene, Ryan, they've just been playing with him for a couple of days, and they got together to put this together for all of us, right? So, I think they've done a great job, you know. So I think, I've learned a few Wings things, so we're going to do a couple of them. I haven't forgotten them, but they should know. Yeah, there we go.